Pediatrics, Nursing 203. Um, Pediatrics is, you're to the second to the end. You're almost at the end. You're at that, over the hump, as I call it, into your courses. But I will warn you, this semester is going to get crazy busy at the end. Most of you are in 3 courses. You are in Med-Surg 2, you're in Pediatrics and Community. And it's going to take you to really manage your time well. So I have done a couple things to help you. Some students like to work ahead because at the end you have projects in community and you have one in pediatrics too. So the only thing that I do not open up for different times is case studies, but Kaplan is open, your NCLEX questions are open, you can work ahead on those, okay? And I don't have a due date so they're open. You can do them and get caught up. I don't recommend it, but with 3 courses, you need to do something to help yourselves. So just remember that keep ahead, don't fall behind, because once you fall behind with 3 courses, it's rough to catch up, okay? So welcome to Pediatrics. I am Professor Bogart. I have been with Fortis now for almost 6 years. I've taught pediatrics, pharmacology, and I did teach community 1 semester. So I have a concept of what community is all about also. I will be doing a dosage calc review. I do a simple review. I do not do the proportion ratio analysis. I just do something very simple, and it can help you pick things out. I have my grandson here.
Papa's not letting me have to do
Why don't you, here. Go ahead, go play with the worm here. I'm teaching.
No, I'm talking about the other one.
I know that, but that's when I'm done. Here, you have to go. I have to go teach, okay? Love you. It's my 5-year-old grandson. He's sick. He's got a runny nose, and my daughter is so busy she can't take care of him. So I'm home. So I get him, me and my husband, little 5-year-old. Do you hear about Christian? You're going to hear stories about him all along. So I've been teaching a long time, and I've been doing dosage analysis, dosage calculations. I make it extremely simple for you. So if you know proportion analysis, that's fine, but I can show you how to pick numbers and how to make it simpler. So I'll be arranging something before the first exam for you. Usually week 3, I will do something. I'll usually say, let's do it on a Wednesday, and we'll be working out the times that work for you. Now, everything I do is recorded, and there is a website on YouTube that I do use. It's Professor Bogart's Pediatric Nursing, and I post everything there. You will see the information of the recording, and I also do Kahoots every single class. I don't know if you all have heard about me before, but these Kahoots are something that will help you understand the information that I've just taught. So what I have learned from my students in these past several years being just strictly online is that if you do the minimum of looking at that interactive PowerPoint before coming to class, you're going to have an idea of the concepts that we're going to be covering. Then I'm going to do a PowerPoint and I'm going to explain things to you. I'm going to share some of my stories of my children that I have worked with over the years to try to make it more understandable for you. And then we do a Kahoots. And the Kahoots is a reinforcement. Now, I do not just read a question and you answer it. I'm explaining it as I'm giving you the question and helping you pick the question apart so that you can understand how to answer questions better. And I've actually made most of these questions. Now, Kahoots are very important. When I do Kahoots, I pick questions that I know are concepts that we will see on exams, and we will see these concepts on your HESI and then your NCLEX in the end. So Kahoots are actually very important. When you see concepts there, you need to not just understand the answer to the question I've given you, but you also need to understand how you work with it. For instance, let's say we're talking about not breathing well. So the question goes on about, difficulty breathing, and the infant has nasal flaring and grunting. So I don't want you just to know that that's a respiratory thing. We're going to go into now, what treatment do we give? What's priority treatment to give? How do you know it works? And we do this all through the Cahoots. And students do enjoy the Cahoots. So I will continue them. And you will get the links to the Cahoots. You can share them between you. I've had students get together, 3 or 4 together, and do the Cahoots together after and discuss them. And they say they really do help with the understanding of that information. Every week, I will be sending you your PowerPoints. I'll be sending you the PowerPoints for the week that I will be discussing. I won't send you the Cahoots till I give you the recording of the class. And then you'll get the link to the Cahoots that you can go back and refer to, because I believe that they do help you with that understanding. Now, I usually will send you the recordings by tomorrow by noon. You'll have the recording sent out, and they will be to my YouTube link, so that even now you can go to my YouTube link, Professor Bogart, Pediatric Nursing, and you can find it. It's there. I have all of last semester stuff. I did start it last semester, and I use it not only for you and my students. I have students from other classes who like the way that I explain things, and they'll go in after their lectures and they'll listen to it. So it is there for you. I'm always available. All you have to do is ask. If you're having problems, I want to know before an assignment is due that you can't get it done. I can work with you, but you have to tell me before. Don't tell me after, well, my kid was sick and I couldn't do it. No, tell me my child is ill. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this done. I'll try if I can. And I'll say, okay, I'll give you an extra day, as long as it's not every single assignment, okay? But I know life shows up and you need a little time. I will work with you. So communication, nursing is all about communication. You talk with me, you tell me what's going on, I can work with you and I can help. And that's my goal, to sit here and to help you, for you to understand. Now, if we're going over concepts you don't understand and you want help, and especially when you get to like cardiac, which is pretty rough, ask me. I'll do a one-to-one with you. Or if you have 2 other friends who want to come on at the same time, I'll do that with you, one-to-one, and I'll work on times that work for you. I do have meetings or stuff, whatever, but I'm going to work into a time that is favorable for you, okay? So all you have to do is ask. So communicate, 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 and I will help you. Every week you'll get a PowerPoint, and then we'll go over that. And when we're done, we will do a Cahoots. Now, I usually run straight through and try to get you out early instead of taking a break in between. Okay, is that okay with you? It's a 2-hour class. Okay. Jamie, did you put your hand up? Did you need something?
Yes, ma'am. Can you repeat the YouTube channel, or is it written somewhere that we can?
I'm going to be sending it to you tomorrow with the first recordings, and you'll get all that. Everything I talk about, you will get. Oh, there's somebody who already put it there for you. They've already found it on the YouTube. So thank you, Jess. And it is there. And you actually can listen to the class before the class. So, I mean, I put every single class I teach. Last semester, I did 4 classes. Every single class is there. And you'll see it denoted with Monday 3 to 5, Monday 6 to 8. You'll see that there are different ones. I talk about the same things, but maybe it's slightly different in each class, but it's basically, I will say almost the same things. I cover the same material, so it's there for you. I will be posting new ones for this semester. I'm not relying on last ones. And the other thing I want you to do is whenever there's a question like you did, ask me, stop me. I don't understand. I do not mind to be interrupted. I don't get offended. If you don't know the answer to something, you don't understand something, stop me. Just say, Professor, I don't understand. Can you explain that to me better? Because I'm sure you're not the only one who doesn't understand. Okay, so please, that I want you, for me, I want you to make sure you do that. Another thing is all of these people, there's 6 of them with their cameras off. I want your cameras on. I like talking to faces. I can see how you're responding to me. I can see maybe those wrinkles are not understanding. I don't mind if there's kids in the background, life is behind you. That's fine with me. I know sometimes you have to come home, you have to quick eat. I get that. That's okay. I'm not offended. Come to class, just be respectable as in what you're wearing, and if you want something, either raise your hand or just come in and say, Professor, I don't get it. Please do that. I don't want it to go on and you don't understand it all. I make things simple. So if I have to make it even simpler, I'll do that for you. Whatever I have to do, I want you to understand things. So as I said, you'll get a PowerPoint and we'll have the Kahoots and we'll run straight through. We usually will get done about 10 or 15 minutes till. Today, we're going to run right to the end. I've got a lot of stuff to get in for you. Any questions so far? You will get recordings for everything, and you will get a review before every exam, and I do an extra one with the dosage calc, and I'll try to work it in those times for you. Again, all those recordings are yours. I'll be sending you the other professors' recordings for reviews too. So you're going to get everything you need to be successful. I know those students who go to the reviews, the ones that ask questions, who do at least the interactive PowerPoint, come to class, listen, take time with the Kahoots to answer it. Those students have gotten 99.99 on the HESI. Okay, so you all can do it too. And that's as simple as that, and stopping me when I don't understand. Okay, I am going to, first of all, let me give you 2 different things that you are going to need for this week. And this is the vital sign sheet and the stages, Erikson and Piaget and whoever. There is the one about the psychologists, and here's one on vital signs. And the reason why I give you vital signs is an infant has a heart rate normally of 140 to 160. What are adults? 60 to 100, right? So you need to know the difference in heart rates. What if you're given digoxin? You need to know those things. So those are there for you. Did you all get the first PowerPoint off the announcement for week 1? Okay, let me see if I can attach it while I still have it open here. No, I can't. Now, I also will attach it to the recordings. So if I send you an announcement, it'll be there on your weekly announcements. I also will attach it to the recording I send you. So you'll be getting it more than once, okay? I also will send Erikson and vital signs in a message because I can't attach more than one attachment on an announcement, okay? But I'll send that to you. So let's talk about what's going on online. What do you need to know about it? So that as we go forward, you'll understand, what the rules are of the online thing. Many of you have been, taken the OB maternity online, so you've had some already exposure, but let's go to some more. So online is literally, I'm teaching you like you're on ground, but it's through a Zoom session. What I want you to do is keep your cameras on. If you need to leave early or something's going on with you, send me a message, please. Another thing is you can always message me on my cell phone. If you're going bonkers and you need an answer to a question quickly, you can text me, and it's 305-951-8055. And I do answer actually pretty quickly. And I answer even on the weekends I'm talking to you. So online learning is just like being in class, but it's on Zoom. Now, whenever you're having problems with, let's say, having problems getting into the computer, or your quiz don't open, or you had technical difficulties and there was a hailstorm and the electric went off and all those things. I've had many things. The dog bit the cable wire to the charger and it didn't, my charger wasn't good on the computer and I couldn't finish the quiz. Tell me as soon as it happens. Send me an email because that gives me a time spot, okay? That's my stamp of time telling me you told me right when it happened. Again, good communication. Whenever you have problems, you first come to me. Now, I am pediatric course lead, so the next person that you would contact in case I'm not giving you what you need, and I encourage you, is to contact the National Dean of Nursing, which is Darlene Brown, and her information is here, and this is her phone number. You contact her if you need something and I'm not getting to you quick enough. So always do it, instead of giving me a text first, always do the email message through Canvas because it gives me a timestamp. And it shows me when you first contact me, and then you can go right to my text and let me know or call me on the phone, okay? Now, the courses start at literally Monday at 12 a.m. and it goes till Sunday night at 11:59 Pacific time. So if you're Eastern time, you have an extra 3 hours. So if something is due on the end of the week, for instance, next week or this week, you have a discussion question. It is the first discussion that you write is due Wednesday night at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And it's the 2 peer responses are due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. I usually get them graded by Monday or Tuesday at the latest. And I do read the discussion questions. I learn a lot from you in there, and I will help you with APA. I'll give you little hints on it. I don't expect you to be perfect, but I expect you to make a good attempt on doing APA with me. Make sure you submit it on time. Now, if something happens and you needed more time and you contacted me before, like I've said, it will not be a deduction. But if you do not contact me, it will be a deduction, 10%, and you have 1 more week. Now, you submit it on time, you'll get your full grade earned. If you come in a week later, it will be minus 10%. After a week, it's a 0. I cannot accept it anymore, okay? So make sure you get your subjective work in because it is 20% of your grade. And I did have one student last semester, by the grace of God, she did pass. She had a 78.05, and she didn't do a lot of her subjective, but because she got a 94 in her HESI, she did well. But make sure you get it in on time. Unless, let me know. I'm in the hospital. My husband's in the hospital. My kid this, whatever. Let me know. So very important thing about Canvas is when you go into Canvas, whenever you do work in it, it creates a submission and you need 2 points of reference every week. This week, it's your attestation, your week 1 attestation, signing it. And the second thing is your discussion question. Now, if you don't do those, it's going to show no work in Canvas. And if it goes on for 14 days, you will be dismissed from the course without notification. Now, I do go and look at attestations, send you a message, but you've got to be really good. You come to class, you do your attestation. Now, what happens if you miss part of the class? Because I know somebody here has to leave to go to work, which is fine. Make sure you watch the video of the information you missed and then sign your attestation, okay? And every 7 days, again, it's from Monday till Sunday. Make sure that it's done by Sunday night so that we get you, that you will not be discarded from the program because you will be dropped. So these are how you put your submissions in. The attestations are important, and then any of the work that you're doing there. Remember, if you didn't do it, you didn't sign it, even if you were there, you're still going to be dropped. and they're not going to argue with it. Because remember, if you didn't sign it, it means you didn't do it in nursing. You have to document. So to be successful, make sure you have a copy of your syllabus. Now, the syllabus has all the dates and the times of when things are due. I know a lot of you rely on the calendar. I want to give you a fair warning about one area in here. It's case studies. Now, case studies will show that they're open till 1 week after they're due, because you do have another week to get it done, but it will be minus 10%, okay? So don't go by the date in your calendar, go by what's on the syllabus when things are due. And I do each week go over what is due this week, what do I need to get in. I will tell you at the beginning of every class, you know what that will be. We know that this week is you have to get your 2 quizzes done in the beginning of the Canvas, your technology quiz, and then there's the other one that's there, can't remember right now, and then the discussion question. Make sure you get those done. That is this week. And then next week, we'll go into what's due next week. Again, let me know something's going on. Make sure that when you're online with me, you have things plugged in so it doesn't all of a sudden die. When you're taking your quiz, I've had some students say that their nephew, their kid came up, started pushing buttons on the computer, and they ended up getting a 30 on the quiz, and could I reopen it? No, I can't. Okay, that's not an excuse that I can't. So make sure that you protect your quiz and even the exam when you're doing it, that you have a quiet space. Many campuses will have an area where you could go to that is quiet. Many do, not all, but many of them do. So make sure that you do it in a quiet place so that you can get your exams done and your quizzes done well. Again, always go in to your Canvas and check it. Now, I do not overdo any messages. I don't send you 1,000 announcements or 1,000 messages because you're not going to read them. I will only send what's important. So if I send a message, please, please, please look at it. Okay, what else is this? Again, make sure you have your syllabus. I don't care if you have it online. I mean, I'm the hard copy sort of kid. I mean, I like it here in my hand. I like to look at it. Whatever you like to do is fine. You know, and our textbook is the same one as you use for OB. I do have 3 classes a semester. Sometimes things happen and you can't come to a course. Let's say you had a doctor's appointment that you've been trying for 3 months to get into, and it falls at Monday at 3 o'clock. Now, I can let you come to another class, but you need to contact me before the class, let me know, and I can work with you. I also teach on Thursdays, mornings and evening classes. So let me know, I can work with you. Again, I can work with you. Again, any problems with your technical things, let me know, I can help you. I do review sessions if you need me, okay? If you need me to go over stuff from that week, let me know. Whether it is a review, whether it's to tutor you, please. I have seen students start out with lower grades and end up with a 96 on their HESI in the end because they came to me weekly, either before or after class, to go over things. So just ask, okay? And these reviews that I give you, I do PowerPoints. I usually will make them up for you, making sure that all areas of the exam are covered and things you're going to see on the HESI and NCLEX. It covers everything. In fact, if you're studying for your NCLEX when you're done doing these reviews, because there'll be 3 exams, 3 reviews, I can tell you that pediatrics is covered in those for your NCLEX. So you have an 80-20 class, that's what it's called. It's 80% objective. Your unit exams, your quizzes, and your HESI all equal 80%. You must have a 78.0 on that before we add in your subjective grades. Your subjective grades are 20%. If you do not do the 20%, you can still fail unless you have 100 on everything else. So please make sure it gets done, and I will be sending you reminders. Now, we do something to show you about your homework grades and how important they are. I have the homework grades turned off right now, which means you're only going to have quizzes and exams showing. Now, on week 6, I turn them on, the homework grades, to show you how they affect your overall grade. Many of you, your grades go up because you all, get really good grades on your NCLEXs and your case studies. Some of you don't, and you're going to see maybe your grade goes down. And then on week 8, I turn it off again till the end. And I do not turn subjective grades on again until I'm ready to do the final scoring of the class. And that's after the HESI is in. Can you hear that well? I might have to change. It's enough. Can you hear that noise in the background? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Boga, I have
Hold on a second. Yes, go ahead, Hassan.
so for the case studies, right? Do we only get one chance? Because like
One chance.
see, so like
One
what
chance only through the modules.
say it again?
One chance, and you must go through the modules. You can't go to evolve. You can't go directly in that way because it will show a 0 on my grade book if you went through the not through the modules.
Yeah, so like what I mean is like the first time, well, like maybe I do it, like I could probably get like a 77, and the second time I get a 90. So you won't take my second grade at all?
No, it's the first grade, and this is what our dean wants. I can't go against it. What it does, it makes you go and look up answers before you answer them. So it actually helps you with the understanding of the information. I know it's more work. I know I'm still in school. I get it. I understand. You like to go through it, see what the concepts are, look what the answers are, remember them, go back and answer it and get them right. I know that. But when we do it this way, it forces you to open your book and look, or go to the PowerPoint and see what the answers were and then do the answers. Okay. I know it's more work, and I know what you're saying. And with 3 courses, I get it, but no, it's only one time. All right. So we know about homework grades. So we know after everything's added up, you have to have a 78 combined. Quizzes, you will be able to get them on early Monday morning, and they're till Sunday night, 11:59 Pacific time. Again, it's question by question. You can't go backwards. So one question at a time, and it's 10 questions per quiz, and there's 15 minutes to get it done. Okay? You can't stop it. Once you start it, you must finish it. So when you're doing a quiz, make sure that you complete the whole thing. Okay? Now, if you get some sort of score that you do not like, and you want to go over your quiz, let me know, and I'll go over these quizzes with you. Exams are through ExamSoft, and we'll be doing it through Zoom with me, and I'll tell you when to download your exams, and when to the upload is after you take the exam. I'm one of those professors who will give you your maybe, the approximated grade without any corrections. I'll give them to you if you need to. There are students who freak out and just really would like to know what they get, and I want to calm any sort of stress in your life. So I will give you your grades. You just have to ask. I won't just hand them out. You need to ask. There are students who have accommodations, who get time and a half. Please let me know if you're one of these people who need more time on the quizzes, that you've turned in the proper notification, okay? Now, with the exams on Zoom, make sure there's no earbuds in, make sure you have your photo ID, and I'm going to need a side view and make sure there's nothing around you, okay? And we'll usually come to class a little bit early that day to get that all done. Now, if you're going to miss an exam for whatever reason, I need to know before, okay? If I know before due to something, I will not have to take off 10%. But if you tell me after something happened, unless you're in an emergency situation in the hospital and can't get a hold of me, that's the only way type thing, you'll be minus 10%. I don't want to do that. So please contact me before. Really important. And you need to take that exam within 7 days of the first administration, okay? So if you're taking your exam, something happens, please notify me immediately. I had one student who was on question 5 and had a massive migraine, he couldn't see and his eyes were blurred. And I had him turn off the exam, I'll see you, and we rescheduled the exam. It was just something that happened. You cannot be halfway through and do that. But if you're in the beginning of the exam, something's going on, and you don't have to come to class with a migraine to take an exam, okay? If you're that sick or that much in pain, let me know. We can make accommodations for you. Again, always contact me. Your homework assignments, make sure you do it via the syllable, and keep good track of your weekly work. With these 3 classes, you're going to be doing a lot of things. I like a calendar. I write a calendar, and I like it to show what is due when, so I can X them off as I go. But whatever you like to do, you could do it on your syllabus, you could do it a calendar, but with 3 classes, I like it in one place. Again, it's on time, you get full credit. If it's 1 to 7 days late, it'll be minus 10%. After 7 days, it will be a 0 unless you've notified me first. As I said, your NCLEX questions are open. You can do them. Just be careful, because when you're submitting these early, I would hold on to those questions and submit them that week, because you still need those 2 points of signing into Canvas to get your attendance. You don't want to be dropped when you did them already, but you submitted them too early, okay? I don't want that to happen. And make sure you do the instructions. It will tell you what questions you need to do for these. Now, week 1 is not under pediatrics. It's under growth and development, okay? That is a common mistake done by pediatric students. They go, well, it must be under pediatrics. No, it's under growth and development, which is part of the list, drop-down list in NCLEX. Make sure you submit them correctly. I want the whole big form. So go through, print the results, and hand them in. If you have a problem doing that, let me know. I'll help you. I'll send you the first time, if I see it done incorrectly, I'll send you instructions. After that, just let me know. We'll pop on Zoom for 2 minutes and we'll figure it out for you. You can redo NCLEX questions as many as you want, many times as you want, to get the grade that you do want. Remember, there are 4 NCLEX questions. They are worth 5% of your grade. So make sure you get the best grade you possibly can. There's 50 questions. So make sure that you do as many as you can and do them as correctly as you can. I have students that have all hundreds, whatever you want. Again, case studies, make sure you go through the modules. Andrea, you had a question.
Do the NCLEX questions have to be done in a set of 50, or can we break them up?
You can do 25, 25.
Okay.
That's not a problem. Just make sure they're all submitted. And the way that I've set it up, it's multiple submissions. So yes, you may. It's not a problem at all. Okay. Thank you for the question. Good question. Again, go through the modules. All right. Who else has their hands up? Jess?
Do we owe remediation for ones we got wrong?
No, no remediation. No remediation. You don't have to do that. Just give me your questions. Thank you for, because there are students who do that. No, you do not have to do that. Okay. Again, make sure that they're turned in on time. If not, they're going to be minus 10%. Now, I did put this thing here. Please check the due dates on your syllabus, that every case study is open for an extra week for those students who need that extra week because they missed for whatever, because it's hard to reopen one of those case studies. So it is open for an extra week. So don't look at the calendar for dates due on the case studies. They should automatically transfer to the grade book. If it doesn't go to the grade book and it's a 0, tell me right away, okay? And then it could be you need to fill out a help desk ticket, or I need to fill one out, okay, to get you the grade that you are due. There's ways I can look also, but make sure that you notify me if you see a 0 there. There are 7 discussion questions. Make sure you follow the rubric, answer it as well as you can, and make sure that you are putting a reference or 2 in there, and make sure during your writing that you put a citation in there. I mean, many of you do the book, which is fine, but make sure it's written in there somewhere. And if you don't, I will send you a message on that your discussion question, showing you what you could do to change it. So if you don't see a 20, I will tell you why. Okay, your exams, quizzes. Again, the quizzes are through the modules. You do them. Again, if you can't get through, something's going wrong, please just let me know. It is 15 minutes, okay? So you can see clearly here, if you're having technical problems, immediately stop and let me know, because I can see everything you click and look at on a quiz. Kaplan are not due to the end. Now, Kaplan are also open right now, okay? You might want to do them in the middle of the course to get ready, because there are quite a few questions in the A, B, and C, okay? Now, Kaplan must be remediated. So if you get 100, even on the math, you must go back and remediate every question, which is 1 to 2 minutes per question you're going to remediate, okay? Anybody else have a question?
I do.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
So do these translate over to the grade book? Because I know we were having trouble with that.
No, no. All Kaplan, I have to go back and grade. And I will tell you a little hint. I do not grade them until all of the Kaplan are in, because I have to go to each campus, each student individually. So I go through and do the math, which is due the week before, and the 3 ABC pediatric ones all at the same time. Now, if I go back and I see that the math you didn't remediate, and yeah, it's already overdue, but I'm telling you to remediate it, it's because I've just graded them all together, and I will give you the chance to remediate to be able to get the grade that you want. Instead of a 50, you'll get your 100 if that's what it was, okay?
Got it. So we don't have to do anything. You kind of see it already.
Absolutely. You don't have to submit anything to me on Kaplan. I go in every single student and I look them up. And then I look at the remediation time. Okay, your HESI is either in school or it's under Proctor U, and we'll find this out at the end of the course, your campus and what they're going to do for that. Remember, with the HESIs, there is remediation, and I will tell you if your remediation is up, due, and I do that by when you have your HESI, when you see your grade of the HESI in the grade book, that means your remediation is done. Okay, it's the way for me to tell you, yes, you got your remediation done, and there's your grade. Because you don't remediate, you get a 0. So let me say, remediation, homeworks, That's about it. Any questions about online and what we require? Okay. I'm going to pull up today's PowerPoint, going over it. This is the introduction into pediatrics. Any questions? My phone number is 305-951-8055.
Can you say that one more time?
305-951-8055.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So pediatrics, you know, the one thing that you're going to start hearing about, and especially if you go on for your further courses, is all about healthy people. Healthy people is all the basis for improvement of humans in general, whether they're children or adults. We know that children, we focus on growth and development, nutrition, and oral health. Some things we see in children is obesity. Today, children are more sedimentary. They, you know, are on video games and phones, and they're not up and active like they used to be. So they're not burning calories, and it's the fast food day. We know that. Childhood injuries is huge. You know, children tend to run before they look, and many injuries occur. You know, there's violence, there's bullying, and you will see children with mental health issues. I've seen some severe mental health issues in young children, so don't think it's just adults. You know, we can have problems with guns, with those bags, suffocation. I mean, I live in Homestead, Florida, which is the gateway to the Keys. It's right below Miami, Florida, and there's pools everywhere, water everywhere. So water is a big deal down here in South Florida for parents worrying about their children. You know, my grandson is 5 and he can do front flips and back flips off the pool. So, and he can swim better than most people, adults, because I taught him, because I am so afraid of pools because I have one in my backyard. We know pans, and then of course getting into medications. That's a big thing with children. It looks good. I think the most common thing they love to chew on is their Tylenol, their Motrin, because it tastes good, those chewy ones, and of course those gummy bears, Flintstone vitamins. Those are things they get into and they'll just chew the whole thing. Now, health problems, the highest risk children are those premature babies, and we have quite a few premature babies. I worked in newborn ICU, cardiac ICU, pediatric ICU, and I worked the last 10 years in a trauma center emergency room for children. So I've got a really varied background in pediatrics. Premature children, I think the smallest baby I ever saw was 375 grams. I think that's about 11 ounces, and the kid made it. And that was back in the late 80s when I saw that child. It's very low birth weight and low birth weight. That's what those initials mean. There's all sorts of problems that occur to be premature. I mean, they don't have a proper skin, so their infection is a big deal, and their vessels in their brains are very fragile, and they get bleeds in their brains, and that can cause things like cerebral palsy or growth and development delays. Children that go to daycare, they're exposed like crazy to other children, you know, virals and, you know, even the flu, et cetera, COVID of today. Many children are living in poverty and are homeless, and more than we'd like to think about. Immigrant families, you know, I live in South Florida, in Homestead, where it's notorious. This is where all the farms are, you know, and we have a lot of immigrant families that, you know, go and harvest the vegetables and fruits here. Many of them don't come to the emergency room because they're afraid they're going to be deported. And it's a big thing. So by the time they get to an emergency room, they're very sick. I see an immigrant family come in. I will probably take that child first because I know they have waited a long time to seek medical care. There's chronic medical psychiatric illnesses. children that were born premature and have respiratory issues and, all these chromosomal problems. We'll be going into quite a few of them. And there are barriers to healthcare, and it could be that $5 copay, as simple as that, or just the ability to pay for insurance, or how do I get there? I don't have a car. Infant mortality is children who die, deaths per 1,000 live births. We know that the infants have a higher chance of death because they're so young and they're so fragile. And we know the biggest determinant is their weight. Children less than 2,500 grams or 5.5 pounds are the ones that we are watching here. As they get older, children have less chances for death, and it's usually due to injuries, especially those toddlers. You'll hear me call toddlers the dive bomb kids. They get on top of a couch, they dive bomb to try to get over to the other chair, and they fall off and hit their head and try to climb up, turn the TV on, whatever. There are always things falling on them, and that's the injuries I'm talking about. As they get older in adolescence, you'll see things like homicide and suicide. So religious influence, cultural, family, social, cultural, and religious influences on children. Remember, the family is what the child is. The family is the biggest influence there. Whatever they believe in, that's what the child believes in too. So family-centered care is pediatrics. We don't take care of a child. We take care of the entire family. Many nurses do not work with pediatrics because they don't want to work with the family. So my philosophy is put the family to work. Let them work for you. Explain what you need to do and let them be your eyes and your ears and your voice for that child. And it works really, really well. And what is a family? A family is whatever they say it is. A family could be grandma and grandpa, could be an adoptive parent. It could be 2 women, 2 men. It could be, multiple families in one home. A family is whatever they say it is. So children, taking care of them, we really need to think about what are we going to do to provide care for them. And the biggest thing is children think you walk into a doctor's office, they're going to get stuck with a needle. Down here in South Florida, they say no pinche, no pinche, which means don't give me a pinch, which is a needle. And they run down the hall. They don't want you. So providing traumatic care is very important. And everything we can do to provide that, we have to do. We have comfort care. We have, I developed a program called Huggies, H.U.G., etc. And it was help us give great injections efficiently and safely. And what it did is had parents holding children for injections, because where do children feel safe? In a parent's arms, right? So they have less fear and stress before, and then the injection's given and they're already in mommy's arms. So it is a great program to decrease the amount of stress these children go through. So first, do no harm, and decrease that distress. As I said, there's all sorts of families. I keep going on and on and on about it. Now, cultural health beliefs. We're all not the same. We all have different beliefs. We all think different things make us sick, think different things help us get better. In South Florida, the biggest cultural group is the Hispanic group, and they believe chicken soup cures everything, right? But there's also other things that they believe in. We know that there are some types of religions that believe in prayers and the healings, and it could be that they need to spend their time for that. They also have all of these rituals and things that they do to help them get better, whether it's food, whether it's clothing, whether it's medicines, whether it's natural herbs and ointments and teas, and all of these things are part of the culture. And these things in the culture, what they believe helps them feel better. Now, one of the things is many cultures believe if you're outside in the rain and you get wet, you're going to get sick. Okay, you can't go out in the rain because you're going to get sick because you're wet. Another thing that I've heard is that A child can't walk in the house without their socks on because they're going to get sick. And I can't tell you how many, they call them abuelas or grandparents, usually of the Hispanic faith, say, no, let their socks be off. Your grandson has a fever. One of the biggest places are head and feet where fever comes out. Let them walk on the cool floor. And what does that do? It helps bring down that temperature. There are some people who believe in different voodoo, witchcrafts, evil spirits. I mean, I've actually been where they've done their thing to help a child get better. And I was pregnant at the time, and they made me put a quarter on my belly button so evil spirits wouldn't get in me. And I'm like, okay, you know, if you think that your son, your daughter, your granddaughter, whatever, going to feel better, okay, it doesn't hurt me, it's fine. But it's being understanding that everybody's different. Everybody needs something, you know, different for them to feel like they're getting better. And we know that religion does dictate their behavior. And we know that things like baptism is important. Sometimes you have a very sick newborn born, and these parents want the child baptized. Of course, I'm going to encourage it. If that's what they believe, I'm going to do it. We know Jehovah's Witness don't believe in blood and blood products. Now, I've given blood to Jehovah Witness infants and children with the parents knowing that I did it, but through a court order. And I did it in a very respectful way that the parents were very grateful. I covered the blood during a day shift, had them walk out, set it up, didn't leave anything hanging around. They don't need to see something they don't believe in. Or when I worked night shift, I would send them home and then I would give the blood so that they knew the child was getting it, but they don't have to see the blood being given. We know that there are certain foods. Some people are vegetarians. There's certain sort of teas. Jamaicans, for instance, my husband's Jamaican, and he believes everything is cured with a tea. Ginger tea, lemon tea. You know, I could go on about the amount of teas that we have in this house, and they all cure something or help something. Now, the nurse of a pediatric child, you're not only taking care of a child, you're taking care of the family. You know, I always said that we need to be paid a psychologist's wage too, because we're sitting there listening to a parent's frustration about helping their child feel better. I mean, not just the one with a upper respiratory or fever, but the child that has something that nobody can figure out. So opening up that that avenue of communication is very important. You know, I have so many parents today that I haven't taken care of their children for 20 years and they still contact me. We still talk. They always send me messages on Nurses Week and Facebook about I'm Chris's favorite nurse and thank you for what you do. Or, you know, I hear so many things from these parents. It's a very rewarding field, but it does take a lot of time, takes a lot of patience. We know that pediatric nurses are always teaching, always teaching. And of course, injury prevention is always part of that. We support these parents. We understand that they've gone through a lot. You know, if you can imagine, you bring a child into the emergency room, they've already gone to the doctor, gone to urgent care, kid's still sick, the kid's been sick now for a week, that parent hasn't slept. You know, they're exhausted. So just acknowledging you must be exhausted. What can I do to help you? Just saying those words can really help a lot to that parent. So genetic influences, we know genetics, passing of chromosomes does a lot. So nursing process, you know, your ADPI, always when you are looking at pediatrics and adults, anything, always look at where are we in that question. So we have a question to be answered. You know, is that part of the assessment? And then as we're doing that, what are we going to do? What's our diagnosis and did it work? And how are we going to write that down? Very important part of any part of nursing. Now, common cause of death among African-American boys ages 15 to 19. What do you think it would be?
Suicide or vehicle.
Firearm homicide.
It's actually in between suicide and homicide. It's in there. Children that are adolescents, 15 to 19, are all into body image, and a lot of them feel that they're not worthy. So it causes depression and it could cause suicide. But also they get into these sort of, I'm invincible and want to now figure out how to use daddy's gun, or somebody has a gun and try to play with it. And we know that those things can cause problems too. So one of the things with children, which is very important, is looking at their growth and development. Pediatric is all about knowing what steps of development comes. How do they grow? So we know that they're growing, developing, maturing, being their different, unique person, and it's all interrelated, simultaneous, and ongoing. They lift their head up, they turn over from back to front to back. They're on their knees, they're up, they're walking, and they're cruising around. I mean, this is all interrelated that goes on in children. Now, as we get into more next week, going into your infants and your toddlers, we're going to be talking about what are those growth and development patterns? When do these occur? And if they don't occur, what's going on? What do we need to do? As we do our reading, you're going to see directional trends and sequential trends and developmental pace. And these are things that describe how a child develops. As in, we know the directional is cephalocaudal. Well, cephalic is head, right? Caudal is, below. So it goes head down. So it starts with the head, then it goes to the shoulder, the trunks, and then sitting and walking. It goes head to toe. Sequential is what you do first, what you do second. So we lift our head up, then we are going to turn from front to back to front, and then we're up and we're crawling, and then we creep. Then we creep, and then we walk. And creeping is when you're walking around the coffee table, around the sofa, but you're not quite walking yet, but you're standing up. So these are things when you're going through your reading to look at. They're very important to understand these different concepts. We know their metabolism changes and their temperature does too. We start out with a child, an infant, heart rate's 140 to 160. So they're burning up calories quick. So they need good calories and they need frequent feeds. These children, usually every 3 to 4 hours, are getting either breast or they're getting formula, and sometimes with breast a little bit more. Infants cannot take care of their own temperature. What's that important for? Well, I'm going to assess an infant. I'm going to make sure I don't let them get cold. I'm going to keep them half covered or put them under a warmer with heat, because we don't want our child to get cold. We know infants sleep a lot, but as they get older, they sleep less and less. And the single most important thing about growth and development and proper cognition is nutrition, nutrition, nutrition. If a child does not eat correctly, they're going to have delays. So nutrition is the single most important influence on growth. And we know these children, their temperament, and what does that mean? Well, if a child is always crying and screaming and for somebody to come, that might mean that this child is not getting what they need at home. It means that they're not getting their needs met, because a child cries for what? They're hungry, they're wet, or something's going on. They want mom there. So if you don't come, they're probably going to be a crankier child. So when we talk about human behavior, there's Freud, Erikson, Piaget, Kohlberg, and Fowler. And I want you to know that these things I'm going to discuss as we go through the different stages of children. I sent you a worksheet that you have now on those different human behaviors about Freud and Erikson, and I'm going to try to do it in a way that you can remember these things. Children, and this is why I love pediatrics. I went to work and played for 25 years as a nurse, a pediatric nurse. I went to work every day and somehow I played. And even if it was one of those very busy nights, because I worked mostly ICUs, I still feel like I got to play with some kid at some time. It's a sensorimotor development. And what does that mean? Sensorimotor. Well, sense is the touch. Everything in the mouth, oral, right? And then we chew it and we move it around. And this is exploration. This has a child developing, learning. What is this? What does it, putting it in the mouth? This is a sense of self-soothing, whether it's a pacifier or toys, everything, fans, feet, everything in the mouth. And it's a part of them exploring their environments. We know that they start learning where their feet are, their hands are, and they start to know that they can turn and move, and they can understand if they laugh that other people will laugh and they'll get attention. It's all through play, Now, there are different sort of plays. It's something that you need to, as you are reading, go into it and understand it more. But basically, there's playing by yourself or playing with somebody else, with playing individual by yourself, making your own things, or you could be playing next to a child doing the same things, but your own stuff, or you could do like cooperative play, where you are doing something together where there's a goal to reach in the end. So there's all different sorts of play, and all of this, what it does, it promotes creativity in these children. This is a great stages of play that I found actually this semester and put it here for you. I think it really explains the different sort of plays that they're looking at it, or playing alone or next to someone, or they're playing together, but they're not doing the same things. And then of course, there is a goal in the end with cooperative play. So an important slide for you. So these toys, what they do, it's part of these children developing, is promoting cognition, making them think, making them be creative. It's also a great time where parents and children can play together. I mean, I see these maracas and this little girl. Now, for the first 3 years of my grandson's life, he lived with me all the time. He doesn't anymore, but he did. And I remember as a baby, we'd have maracas and we'd shake them and we would sing together. And I love Christian and Christian loves me, and we'd be shaking the maracas and banging tamarines. And it's a great time to do this together. In fact, today, if I bring out the maracas, he'll start singing to me. So it's a great exploration, which is playing. That pushing, pulling, rolling, manipulating, this is all about crawling all over, developing muscles, even in the mouth, chewing and sucking and biting. These are all pleasure for this child, and it also soothes them, and of course it helps with muscles. So when we are a nurse and we are getting a child in and we are doing our initial assessment, we need to know what is expected of that child. And children are all different. I mean, the picture on the left is a child who has CP, and their expectations are going to be different than the child on the right, and ability to do things. But don't ever count out a kid with CP. They have a lot more to offer than you can imagine. And they will meet goals as long as they are given that opportunity and they do learn well. Children can be born with congenital abnormalities. They could be missing a leg, a foot, a finger, an arm. They could have club feet, and we're going to go into those, cleft lip, or it could be due to some sort of chromosomal problem. Could be Down syndrome, Prader-Willi, DeGeorge syndrome, Turner. I could go on and on with the amount of syndromes that it could be caused from, but it's caused, congenital, we'll see it at birth. Sometimes they're due to alcohol, cocaine, or even lead. It could be being next to a person with rubella when you're pregnant, or it could be physical, could be radiation. Just think about Japan and all those radiation things over there that's happened in the last 20 years. High temperatures can cause problems. And then, of course, we do have those metabolic things like maternal PKU. That's why we do those little circles at birth on these infants. Genetic disorders, as I said, 22 pairs XY, this could be your DeGeorge syndrome. They're all different ones, and we could tell by the way that they look, and then of course doing genetic testing. And if we have a child who does have some sort of chromosomal issue, we should support them doing chromosomal and genetic testing, just to make sure if they want, future children, what is the chances of that's going to happen. And if we see it, we need to be there to support these parents and help them have that child be the best that they can be. We do this with what we call early intervention. As soon as we see there's an issue with a child, for instance, I'll give you a great example. I did a lot of my clinicals down here was done at a special needs daycare. And they had a lot of children who were Downs. And the one thing I noticed is usually with Downs children, you see a tongue hanging out. Usually that's what you see, this big tongue. Well, even the infants there, their tongues, and severe Downs, they didn't stick out. And I said, why? Well, speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy taught them how to hold their tongues in. So, and this is on a 3-month-old baby, 2-month-old baby. They teach them that early. So early intervention can help a child be more than you ever expected. So there's all different things about object permanence and pre-operational and concrete operational. What I want you to know is that these things, this is concrete operational thinking, is they like things in the hand, or they like to think about stuff, or they know that this object permanence, if you have a child who to pick up the toys and put them away, they know they still can go find it. Or even an infant, they had a rattle and it's underneath a blanket, they'll go looking for it. That's object permanence, when they know that even though it's not in sight, that toy is still there. So here's some of the cognitive things that we see. Birth to 2, if you look at to the right, that object permanence, stranger anxiety. These are things we're going to go about a little bit more, but this is Piaget. This is a very good overview of that. So history, physical, and assessment. Well, we know that children also, we have to worry about HIPAA. An 18-year-old child can sign for themselves if they're cognitively appropriate, okay? Which means I have to ask permission from the child to talk to the parent about their condition. And if a parent calls up to ask me about their 18-year-old son's lab work, I cannot tell them unless he signed a paper that says you can discuss any medical information with my mother, my father, or whoever, okay? Now, when you get a child in to the hospital, whether it's the emergency room or they've been admitted, you want to talk to the parents to find out what's going on. Now, the thing with talking with parents, there'll be some parents who give you a detailed history from birth, and this child's now 9 years old. What you want to do is direct that focus into what's going on now and what's appropriate. Now, there is cultural awareness. Now, there are some cultures that they don't like you looking in their eyes. There are cultures that don't like you to touch them. There are cultures that do not like to have a male taking care of a female child. So these things, ask. If you are unaware what that's all about, just ask, and that will tell you. Jasmine, did you put your hand up?
Yes, it was about the congenital abnormality. I was just going to say that I just wanted to say that my son had hip dysplasia when he was born. He was born premature at 31 weeks. And so they still don't know why. They think it's because I had the low placental or the oligo. But I thought that was pretty interesting seeing what you had put up there.
Oh yeah, we will be actually going over hip dysplasia. Did he have a Pavlik harness on?
He did, and he even
23
had
hours a day.
Yes, and it was only taken off for like maybe
a bath, 1 hour.
Yes, and he also had a little, and I can actually show you, he had a little club foot that went along with it. So he had a little brace as well, like for his foot.
Wow.
So little, he was 3 pounds, 13 ounces.
Okay, interesting, interesting. You know, the great thing about children, you know, I'm sorry, my kitchen's being done, and they decide today to put holes in the wall. Finally, after 4 months, it's getting done. But the thing about children, early intervention, you're talking about hip dysplasia and then a crooked foot type thing, they heal so quickly with minimal things, just a brace or just a cast or just that harness. It's amazing.
I still have the Pavlov brace if we ever get to that and you want me to
Oh, we
show
will.
it.
Oh,
I can
absolutely.
show you.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. And I'm sure everybody else would like to see it too. Another thing with communicating with parents is listen. And as I said, be empathetic. Say, you must be exhausted. You know, your child's been sick for 3 days with a fever. You know, when you just mention that, it's like, wow, she does care. She does understand. What can I do? Boy, and they're using this wall too. Always let the parent talk. And the one thing is, don't ever have a child do interpreting. Always get the appropriate interpreter. And the reason is this, you know, that yes, the 16-year-old son could probably translate for you, but they're going to put their opinion on what was said. An interpreter gives just exactly the words that were said, okay? I apologize. I didn't know he was going to be this loud today. So communicating with children. Now, number one, children are afraid of you, okay? It's because every time they see a nurse, we're probably going to give them an immunization. So first of all, get down on their level. I like to sit down next to them. I like to say, hey, that's a pretty neat shirt you have on, or, oh, where'd you get those freckles? Or, oh, wow, your eyes are gorgeous, pretty blue eyes, you know, and then get them comfortable with me. And then get on their level, completely discussing things on their terms. You'd be surprised, young toddlers, 18 months, 2 years old, that can really understand when you put it into their words. And when they know what's going on, they're not going to be as afraid. And even starting IVs, you can have them, here, pick out a site. Where do you want to put it? And always, I use play. You know, make it fun, make it a game, have them touch the equipment, let them listen to their heart, give them your stethoscope, give them the blood pressure machine. All of these things help a child open up and be more relaxed. So many times you will have a family come in with a sick kid, and you need to know who's going to share with you the information. So who is it? Now, sometimes it's the grandmother, it's not the mother because the mother's working. So find out, who am I getting information from? Who is the information coming from? Okay. What is the complaint this time? Why are they here now? And tell me what's been happening. When were the last medications, et cetera, et cetera. It is important to know birth history if they were premature or had any sort of conditions at birth, for sure. Operations are always important. And then if they have their immunizations, we always want to know if they are up to date. We need to protect ourselves and we need to protect other children in our care also. And we need to know little habits, like you have a child being admitted to a hospital, and if they don't have their blanket or their toy in their crib with them, they're not going to get comfortable. And let's say mom has to step out to go to the cafeteria and their toy, their blanket dropped on the floor, you know you need to give it back to the kid. You know, if they like their pacifier, know that. If they suck their finger, know those things, because knowing those things can help you help that child comfort themselves. When a child is older, getting sexual histories, many times I'll have the parents step out of the room. if I was an adolescent and you're asking me about my sexual history, I'm not going to say nothing in front of my mom and dad. Just no. I had 6 brothers and me, and I was perfect girl. Yeah, okay. And no, I'm not going to talk. But because if it's related to why I'm there, I need to tell the nurse. And the nurse does not have to tell anybody what you said unless this behavior, this something could cause harm to themselves or to others. It's the only time you have to report this to the family, okay? One of the things I ask about is how you doing in school? How's your teacher? How's your grades? It helps me understand, are they listening, their behaviors. Then you're going to look at how children react to their parents. Working in the emergency room the last 10 years that I was in the hospital, I would see a parent in the corner in a chair on their phones, and the kid is up on a stretcher, taking gloves, throwing them out all over, opening drawers, alcohol swabs everywhere, the otoscope with the little black things flying, and the parents just sitting there and not paying any attention. So how is that parent going to have that child take medicines or do things if they're not even controlling the way that they're, not even, taking care of their environment around them? So looking how they act. Some parents just have the child on them because they're sick, they're in a hospital, okay? We do systems and, going from head to toe. I always, on a sleeping child, will take a heart rate and listen to breath sounds first, because the kid's sleeping, they're quiet, you're going to get a good heart rate, you can listen to murmurs, you can hear those breath sounds a lot better. So it's not like a set way to do things. Knowing how they're eating and what do they eat. Are they eating only vegetarian, or is there a certain food they can't eat, or are they allergic to something? We need to understand what they like so that in a hospital we can continue to feed them, the way that they're used to. It's, if you're not eating meat at home, why should we feed it to you in a hospital? As we're doing, going over and doing the assessment on infants, we're going to do head, we're going to do chest, we're going to do abdominal circumferences, because these are very important. For instance, you have a head born on a newborn and they're huge and their chest is smaller. But by the time they're 2 years old, the head should not be as big as their chest anymore. The chest should be bigger. And if your head is still big compared to the chest, something's wrong. We need to tell that doctor, and we need to find out, is there a brain tumor, hydrocephalus? Something's happening. And temperatures are always important. Do we have a proper temperature on these children? Pulses, respirations, blood pressures. I've given you a sheet on what normals are. And then we look at children, and there's always general appearance, well appearing, sick appearing. When a child is sick, we can tell. You could usually tell their color, the way they're faced, the way they sit. A well kid is running around the room looking fine. A sick kid, you'll see them sitting. And this is why I love kids, because when they're sick, you know it. They don't fake it, Their lymph nodes, if they are healthy, you should not feel. Lymph nodes shouldn't be there. If they're sick, that's when you feel those lymph nodes coming up in their neck and underneath their arms. You will see them. You look in their ears, their mouth, and you can make it fun. Let them look at your tongue first. Let me look at your tongue. We look at their abdomens. We first look at it, and then we auscultate and we touch it. And genitalia we're going to look at too. It could be looking for distended testicles in the male. It could be sometimes we have labia that are fused together, and you cannot even see the vagina because it's all fused. It does happen, and just a hormone cream will take that apart. But knowing what is the normal for this child. The first thing we do with a newborn infant is take a rectal temperature. And you've been taught, because you want to see what the temperature is accurately. But also, children are born without an anus. So we want to make sure that the child has one. looking at their backs, making sure it's all intact, and then looking at for their reflexes. Do they, do they jump, the startle reflexes? Are those things intact on these children? Again, taking those proper type of measurements are important. And then we do height and weight on every child coming into a doctor's office, urgent care, emergency room, because we're going to see, are they growing right? Because if they're not, we're going to go back and look at nutrition. Are they getting proper nutrition, right? Because nutrition affects growth and development. Now, you think that this little boy here or girl on the left with that thing on top of their head, you think that's easy. It's not. A child at this age, probably about 2.5, thinks that wood thing's going to come down and it's going to hurt them. It's going to hit them in the head. It's going to hurt. So make it a game. Say, look at this. It's not going to hurt you. It's just going to touch up there. And you see that number there? Let's see what my number is. Let me see what your number is. What did your number come out? And we make it fun. And then they'll get underneath it. They'll do it correctly. And the kid won't be screaming and yelling. Blood pressure cuffs are different for all size children. We have size 00, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. And we have small adults, regular adults, and large adults. Picking the correct blood pressure cuff for a pediatric child can be daunting. And we can take it anywhere. Now, many times when we do the brachial artery, many young children at 2 to 5 age, they say it hurts. So I put it on that lower leg and you get a good blood pressure. And I'll be holding the leg and talking about something else and have them push the button on it and say, okay, what number do you think is going to come up? And they're going to tell me, and then we'll get through a blood pressure. Looking at their general hygiene is important. We can see how they're taken care of. And of course, listening to their lungs, their heart, their abdomen, their back, etc. And then probably my biggest pet peeve in nursing in general, adult or children, is the inadequacies of pain management. Taking care of children, because children hurt and they do have pain and it needs to be monitored. So children continue to suffer from inadequately treated pain. We need to assess them properly, and there's all different things that we do, and I'll go into that too. Now, giving a child less than what's ordered is not going to do the child any good. We need to give them proper doses. One dose of medication, they're not going to be addicted to it. I have a broken arm on a child, I need to give morphine. Give the proper dose. I don't want that child to hurt. And then making sure that we've gone back to evaluate, is the pain gone? So we assess that we have pain, we intervene, we give something for pain, then we go back and we assess, did it work? And remember, it's not just the medicine. It could be ice, could be heat, could be positioning, elevating head of bed, head of the feet. It could be giving them a toy to play with, anything, get their mind off the pain. Many things we can do. There's all sorts of pain, just like there is with adults, chronic, recurrent, persistent, could be due to medical procedures that are done, could be a cast put on, injury. I think one of the biggest pain is an ear infection. Kids with a really bad ear infection come in crying, holding their ear, and I really feel bad. It's that eardrum is just so swollen that it really hurts. Or it could be sickle cell, and now we're having, sickle cell crisis. So measuring the pain, this on the bottom is a FACES scale. FACES scales are done on your preschoolers and higher, 3, 4, 5-year-old children. And it is really interesting. You give this scale to a child and explain, this means you don't have any pain, and this means it's really, really bad. Which one of these faces look like you? And they do point to the accurate ones. There's all different ones. I did go into the FLAC, because FLAC are your nonverbal children or infants up to the age of 3. And at 3, we can start using the faces. Now, this goes into the way that their faces are. Are they you know, quivering little jaw going on, and their legs are wiggling, and they're arched, and they're crying, and they're not consolable, this is the Flack scale, a very important one. Most of the times in hospitals, you'll see Flack, you'll see faces, and you'll see numeric. These are the other ones, I put them there, but they're not used as much. Make sure you use the proper pain scale for the child, for their level. And also, when you're using the scale, make sure you use the right one for the right child. Now, I'm not saying a child that is younger may not, they can use a faces, but make sure you get an accurate scale so that we can, you know, give them the proper treatment, what they do need for it. Numeric, 0's no pain, 10's the worst pain in the world. You know, the book, our book says it's 8 years or older, it could be used. Now, I've seen it done on 4 and 5-year-olds, they know numbers, but you know, at that age, I would be using the FACES scale on them. And as I said, nonverbal children, these are usually your CP children. You can see the cerebral palsy children that can't speak. You will see them using the Flack scale, and it does work really well. We know that there's chronic pain, and chronic pain is difficult. Causes a lot of physical, emotional problems to these children. So treating the pain properly is what we need to do. So there's also the one thing I want to discuss is cultural differences. Now, I know that in the Hispanic population, a father will tell his boy, you don't have pain, you're a man, you don't have any pain, suck it up, you're okay. Well, when they do have pain, and that's a cultural thing, you know, let the child express exactly what sort of pain they do have. Some cultures don't like to express it, and some children don't want to tell you because they don't want to get a shot. They don't want to get the medicine. So make sure that they tell you really what they do have. As I said, it's not just giving something for medicine. It's doing other things, distracting them, iPad, TVs, coloring. I give stickers out like crazy. The pacifier, as I said, it's self-soothing. And this little thing right here, this little baby, it's a premature baby. That's what we call kangaroo care. I have seen little infants, premature, fussing, frustrated, crying, fidgeting. Put them on mommy's bare chest and they just relax. Their heart rates come down. They start breathing easier and they get to sleep well. As in pharmacologic, remember, it's just not giving the big morphines and things. Remember, Tylenol is a really good pain medicine, and Motrin, ibuprofen, all of these work well, and there's different ways we can give it. We know pain could be caused by many things. We know kids' teeth, that hurts. Maybe just giving them ice can help. Infants get circumcised. They do circumcisions with just a pacifier with a little bit of sugar water on it, and that they get through it. It works. There is a research article done by Harvard neuropsychologists, and they said that a pacifier with a little bit of sugar water on it during a circumcision works just like they got morphine. So there's something to be said about having a pacifier for these children. Headaches can cause braces. Children get a lot of abdominal pain, constipation, diarrhea. And sickle cell, I think, is one of the biggest things that we can think of, a condition that children have pain. Make sure that they get the proper amount so that they can help. And, you know, the end of life, making sure a child goes and can die peacefully without pain is so important. So how are you guys doing so far? A lot of stuff. Now, I'm going to introduce you to my first cahoots. This first cahoots, have you played cahoots before? Okay. The first cahoots has a couple things about this week, but it's an introduction to things as you're doing that interactive PowerPoint for next week, that you do look at growth and development things that you're going to see repeatedly over again. So let's get you to your cahoots.
Do you want us to log on to Kahoot as well?
Please.
How do you log on to Kahoot?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
You go to kahoot.it and you put that game pin in on your phone. And then you look at the questions on the computer. Thank you for being patient with that noise in the background. I've been trying to get an electrician in here for 2 months. All right, we're gonna get going. Who wants to win Kahoots today? Anybody? Hassan, you gonna win for me? Maybe. Tina, maybe. Jasmine, sure.
I don't know how I got in there twice, but apparently I did.
Because you're special. It's okay, don't worry. From a worldwide perspective, infant mortality in the United States, that means infants who die in the first 30 days up to 1 year. So we would think United States that we are ahead of everybody, right? We have more infant deaths than most countries in the world. There's a lot more things that we can do. Better prenatal care, better care as an infant as they are born. So we think that we're ahead. We're really not. We really are not. The leading cause of death from unintentional injuries in children is what? What do you think is that biggest cause? Children, unintentional. So it is actually motor vehicle. Motor vehicle. Now, motor vehicle in every level of children is the leading cause of death. You know, we know infants can't do anything if they're in there, even if they're in a good car seat. And then you get adolescents who are now driving, you know, so that's also. So unintentional injuries is motor vehicle fatalities throughout all of the groups of children. Which statement is most descriptive of pediatric family-centered care? And as I said, whether you like it or not, pediatrics is taking care of an entire family. And we know parents can be difficult. They used to always give me the most difficult families to work with. It recognizes that family is the constant in a child's life. Remember, the family is what the family is given to them. With the mother and the father, their beliefs, this is all what the child is. I always get the parent involved, you know, and that's all they want. They want to take care of their kid usually. The major cause of death for children older than 1 year old is what? My dive bomb kids, 1 year old, toddlers. And it's unintentional injuries. They're climbing up, you know, all sorts of different things and jumping, and they're Superman, and they're all the things. They're their car and they're running and they're in the space. Which statement best describes the process of critical thinking? What is critical thinking? Why do we need to use this? This is nursing. I mean, and we use it every day. You're gonna make a pot of spaghetti, you have to know Do you have the ingredients in the house? It's purposeful and there's a goal for it. Very good. I do this, because of that. What is probably the single most important influence on growth at all stages of development? I had my husband's ex-wife say she was very concerned about her grandson, that the mother, her daughter, wasn't feeding her son the right stuff. I says, well, nutrition reflects upon cognition and growth and development. I said, your grandson is extremely intelligent and far ahead, so obviously he's getting proper nutrition. And she went, oh, okay. If you don't get enough or proper nutrition, you're not going to have cognition. You're not going to grow properly. Frequent developmental assessments are important for which reason? So if a kid's not rolling over, not sitting up, not gaining weight, why do we need to know that? Is because we can, if there's a delay, there's a deficit, something's going on, we can institute early intervention. And children are so resilient. This is why I love working with them. We can catch them up and they could be and do more than most people ever expected, as long as we have early intervention. I think that many of you know someone whose child didn't talk, so now they're in speech therapy. They do speech therapy for a little bit and boom, they're talking better than ever. It's because of early intervention. As soon as they knew, they instituted it. Which function of play is a major component of play at all ages? What did I tell you about play? Why is it important? And it's all about touch in the mouth and moving it around. It's that soothing, that self-soothing, the chewing, the biting, the sucking. It's the touch, the feeling of things, moving it and being creative and all of those things. All of the other things are related to because of the sensor and motor activity. The practice is on fire. The head to tail direction of growth is referred to as what? I mentioned it briefly. Head to toe, cephalic, right? To caudal. It has to do with the head moves, the shoulders move, the arm, the abdomen, and it all goes to lifting the head up and turning over and all of those things. Head to tail, cephalocaudal. There are some terms that you should know. That's one of them. What is the single most important factor to consider when communicating with children? Absolutely. Get on their level. Let them know you're non-threatening. Use words and terms and play with them in a manner that they understand. If you do that, you're going to save yourself so much time because the child understands what you want and they'll be happier and your parents will be happier too. The nurse should expect the anterior fontanelle to close at what age? So babies, infants are born with anterior and posterior fontanelles. Those are the soft spots, and they close normally. If it closes too quick, that means the brain's being squished. If it doesn't close at all, that means something else is going on. Maybe there's hydrocephalus going on there. So the anterior is 12 to 18 months, Posterior is 2 to 3 months. So if it doesn't close when it's supposed to, this is something that needs to be investigated. Something's going on. That's why we need to know these different things. What 2-year-old child pain scale tool should the nurse use? I just was talking about pain scales. So 2-year-old is flack. Faces doesn't start to preschool, which is ages 3 to 4. Okay, and numeric goes at 8. Oucher is in the 24 to 36 months. It could be, but flack is your best tool. At 6 months, an infant's birth weight should do what? So these are things you need to know. If it doesn't do what it's supposed to do at 6 months, too much, too little, there's a problem. And it needs to be investigated. Maybe it's fed too much or maybe not fed enough. So it should double at 6 months. It should triple at 1-year-old, okay? And if it's not, then there's a problem. Needs to be investigated. You can increase calories in many different ways, either breast or through formulas. The first expected fine motor developmental milestone for an infant begins with. Now, this is part of your reading, but F fine means fingers. F for fine is fingers. Now, there's also gross motor, and that's get up and go. That's walking, running, crawling, okay? So there's fine motor and then get up and go. So the first thing that happens is you take a rattle, put it in an infant's hand, and they close it. Many times a mother will put their finger in an infant's hand and they close it. They go, oh, look, he's hugging my finger. Isn't that neat? And I'm not going to tell them it's a reflex palmar grasp, but I think that's pretty neat that they do that. Then it goes to voluntary, then it goes to pincer, then it goes to objects in the container, and then it's building a block of 2. Part of your reading coming up, I'm just exposing you to those things that you need to concentrate on. An 8-month-old infant should be expected to perform which fine motor? Fingers again. So we went from reflex to voluntary, and then we went to picking up Cheerios. So it should be, now we can grasp that rattle, we can grab it, and then sitting at the high chair, they, it would be nice just one little finger, but usually you take a couple fingers and they smush them in their face. Those little puffies, Cheerios, whatever they are. So they should grasp the rattle by the handle now voluntarily, and they can use a crude, which means usually more than one finger. The natural physical developmental sequence that most children follow is, what do they do first? So they should be able to lift their head, roll front to back, back to front, get up on their knees, creep and crawl, and then they stand up and they cruise around, the coffee table, and all of a sudden they walk. And that is the sequence. It doesn't mean they don't roll over and then crawl. You can skip steps as long as you're going forward in the right progress. Frequent developmental assessments are important for which reason? Yeah, I've already asked it once. I'm making sure you understand that one. Very important concept in pediatrics. And that's, we can find if there's delays, there's deficits, and we can put early intervention in immediately, and we can catch these children up for sure. Which behavior indicates that an infant has developed object permanence? I know there's a rattle in this crib here somewhere. So even though it's not in sight, it's covered with maybe a blanket or something, that infant still knows it's there, and that's object permanence. It's that awareness, it's a cognitive awareness. In general, an infant should triple their birth weight at what months of age? We double it at 6 months. And we triple it at 12 months. So if they haven't tripled it and they're born at 7 pounds and they're only weighing 15 pounds, this child's not getting proper nutrition. So an intervention needs to take place, whether to increase the calories or to, put something else into their diet, because nutrition is the basis for growth, development, cognition, and everything. And again, if they're 28 pounds, it's too much. We need to cut back somewhere. Which intervention is contraindicated for a toddler? This is an interesting question. You have a toddler, ages 1 to 3 years old. This is the age where they're trying to do things. They're into potty training. They want to put their pants back on, their shirts on, but we don't care if it's inside out, backwards. It was the attempt. We don't want them to be neat. That's not what we're looking for. It's the attempt. So we would frustrate a toddler if we made sure everything was done properly all the time. The shirt's on inside out, I'm happy. Hey, look at you, you tried. That's a toddler. RN is assessing a 2.5-year-old toddler should report which finding to the provider? Which one's not right? So the head circumference should be equal or less to the chest by this age. So yes, very good. Now Lauren's on fire. Which is the best approach when preparing a toddler for a procedure? Toddlers, ages 1 to 3 years old. We need to go send them for an X-ray. And we're going to do things on dolls. We're going to demonstrate things, explain things in their terms. But a lot of times, even starting IVs and whatnot, we'll do it on a doll to show them where things are going to go so that they're prepared what's coming next. Perform a head-to-toe assessment on a toddler. Most important to consider before beginning the examination. I think ages 1 to 3, toddler, these are that very children who like mom and dad, and they're afraid of everybody else, and they don't want nobody touching them. But if you prepare them on their level, this child, and make it fun and make it a game, and you're playing, this is now non-threatening, and they're going to let you do everything, whether you get on their level, their developmental level. You're going to touch the equipment, maybe show them on a doll, whatever you need to do. And this child will sit there and let you do things, but you have to prepare them. An RN expects that a child at 6 months of developmental age should be able to do what? 6 months old, what should they be able to do? What do you think? I mean, we look at the stages of doing it. We have lifting their head, turning over, up on their knees. By 6 months of age, they should be able to turn front to back and back to front. Okay. And you'll see these things as you're doing your readings for next week about these infants. That's why I'm showing you these things for you to look at them when you get to the book. But they should be able to turn over. Now, if they're not, something's wrong and it needs to be investigated. And then, of course, early intervention can help that child catch up to where they should be. And Lauren's still on fire. According to Piaget, toddlers are in the blank developmental stage. I think the way I remember this is toddlers, everything in their mouth, everything. And it's sensoromotor, okay? All toddlers are is about touching in the mouth and playing with stuff and moving things around, flying them in the sky.
But on your paper that we have here, it says autonomy versus shame and doubt.
Which intervention should a hospitalized toddler feel a sense of control? So you got a kid in the hospital. How do you make them feel like secure, safe, like they're in control of their environment? And you're going to follow routines. According to what you just said, that's Erikson. Erikson is shame. What did you say it was again?
The shame and doubt.
That is Erikson. That's Erikson. It's all about them. They want to do things well, and they're doing things wrong. And they don't know how to do it, and they're getting frustrated. And that's Erikson. We'll go over more. Don't worry as we keep going next week. April's on fire. All children reach developmental milestones at the same age? Yes, no? Absolutely not. All children are all different. They're all special. They're all unique. And because one child did something, you have two children. One started walking at 9 months and this child's not walking until 15 months. Doesn't mean one's more brilliant than the other. It just means they're different. And that's what children do, as long as they're moving in the right direction with their developmental stages. Immunizations for a 4-month-old. What action should the nurse take to provide atraumatic care for the infant? What's one thing I told you about the circumcision on a newborn? And how do we do it without them atraumatic, hurting, feeling it? And we're going to give them that pacifier. Remember, sucking, chewing, biting, anything in the mouth is number one, self-soothing. And they say that sugar on there gets them really concentrated into sucking, and they forget they're getting a shot into their leg. Which of the following immunizations can be administered to a newborn? Actually, it's your first immunization we give. It's usually given before they leave the hospital. And it's hepatitis. Hepatitis is given before they leave the hospital usually. Sometimes they don't, and it's only insurance problems usually. But usually every infant, newborn, is given hepatitis B before they leave the hospital. DTaP is at 2 months, and polio and MMR are a little bit later. There's a great list of all the immunizations. Don't go crazy trying to remember all of them. We're going to go over the concepts of what you need to know about that. The normal heart rate for an infant is what? And the reason why I need to know these things is infants do get digoxin with cardiac problems. And if I'm counting a heart rate and it's a number, I need to know, is that normal for that child or is that too slow? And I need to hold that digoxin. So 140 to 160 is a normal resting heart rate for an infant. A 2-month-old infant has cradle cap. What should the nurse tell the parents do to treat it? You know that white crusty stuff some infants get in their head? It's really hard to get rid of. So you're going to wash it with soap. Absolutely. Sometimes they'll tell you to put mineral oil to soften it, but you don't have to. Just softly brush and comb it every time you wash their hair, and it will go away slowly. You don't do anything hard up there because you have that soft spot, that fontanelle there. What is the preferred site to give an injection to an infant? And it is the vastus lataris. Yes, absolutely. It's the outer upper thigh. Nice and meaty and muscle. And last question. The death of an infant under 1 year old with no known cause is called what? And that's SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome. Very good. Let's see how we did today. Number 3 is Prexa. Congratulations. Number 2, Brianna. Congratulations. Number 1 is doop, 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 doop. Lauren. Number 4, Jess and Nasha. What I'd like you to do right now before you go is to sign your attestation. Get that done so it is finished, okay? Does anybody have any questions at all for me? I'll be sending you your recordings tomorrow, and I'll put the PowerPoint there too. Anybody?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I see that you have 2 syllabuses up. Are they the same thing? Like one says like didactic syllabus and the other one just says
Ohio.
pediatric syllabus.
No, it's the didactic syllabus.
Okay, so that we ignore the pediatric nursing syllabus?
Yes, and it's the one that's printed underneath there. You'll see it already posted.
So our first exam's on week 4, and will we get like study guides?
Yes, you will. On week 3, I'll be posting. There are 3 professors teaching pediatrics. Most likely, I will be doing a review on like Tuesday night, Wednesday night, one of those first days for you to get that. Usually the other professors do Thursday and one's done on Saturday. So there are different times for you. And again, I send you all the recordings for all of them. I'll be sending out your PowerPoint review usually by the end of week 2 so that you have it for week 3, okay? So all of your information will be there. Any other questions? It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you. Anything, just talk to me. I can help you, okay? Thank you so much for your patience.
I have a quick question, actually.
Sure.
Does simulation, that starts week 2 or week 1?
Every campus is different. I do not know. I have 16 campuses. I don't know.
All right.
So what I suggest, talk to the dean or the clinical coordinator.
Okay, thank you.
No, you're very welcome. Brianna, your daughter is beautiful. You're welcome.